Welcome to the place where we learn about improv. Cause public speaking can take you so far. Improv speaking. Say yes and flex your creative thinking. Improv speaking. Say yes and flex your creative thinking.
Welcome, everyone, to the Improv Speaking podcast. I'm your host, Dana Gowan, and I am so excited that you're joining for today's episode because today's guest is fabulous. Oh my God, we're going to have so much fun. For those who are new or joining us for the first time, hopefully not the last time, the first time joining, a few goals of this podcast are one, to help people understand the benefits of improv and how improv can help your performance on stage, whether it's acting, public speaking, presenting, you name it, hence the name Improvly Speaking. Two, we want to demonstrate how improv shows up in all aspects of life. And three, really just to inspire you to try new things, get out of your head, and find creative outlets and passions that can help you. And today's guest is a super experienced improviser, singer, performer, actor, instructor. Maybe we'll have some improvly singing in this episode, or maybe not. We haven't warmed up for that, so maybe not. But just know we'll be talking all about improvly singing today. So without further ado, let me introduce our amazing guest, Ashley Ward. Ashley Ward is a comedian, actress, and singer originally from Conyers, Georgia. She performed improv and sketch comedy all over New York City for 14 years before making the move to LA, which she is currently based now. She has also appeared in several off-Broadway shows, including the New York Times Critics' Pick 50 Shades, the original musical parody, which she also co-wrote. Her TV credits include Aqua Teen Hunger Force, Your Pretty Face is Going to Hell, Middle of the Night Show, and most recently, Hello Jack, The Kindness Show on Apple Plus, and Play It By Ear on Dropout. In LA, Ashley performs at UCB Sunset with Magic to Do and Baby Wants Candy. I have seen Baby Wants Candy. They are amazing. And she also performs at the West Side Comedy Theater in West Side Comedy Story, which she also directs. I love that show too. I go almost every month. Love it. Ashley has also taught workshops for various corporate clients and universities, including Ernst & Young, Amgen, UCLA, Columbia, and Princeton, just to name a select few. And she currently teaches musical improv classes at West Side Comedy Theater and UCB. And fun fact that I did not know, and I want to ask about this later on, but fun fact, Ashley is also a former Jeopardy champion, and that is not a joke. So please welcome the superstar singer and improviser, Ashley Ward.
Oh, hey, Dana. Thank you so much. What a nice intro.
What a nice bio you have. It's incredible. Congratulations. It's a fantastic. And Ashley, thanks for coming on. I'm so happy to have you.
Oh my gosh, of course. I'm so happy to be here.
And for our listeners, Ashley was my instructor for musical improv classes, level 1 and level 2 that I've taken this year at West Side Comedy Theater. And just to recap, one of my New Year's resolutions was to take musical improv this year. And I saw it was offered at the end of January. And I was like, all right, I just need to get it over with, check it off the list. Might as well do it right now. And did level 1, loved it so much, put a big request in for level 2, and I'm glad you offered it. Ashley, I had a blast in those classes.
Well, you were great. And you are definitely a big reason why we did a level 2 right away, because you approached me about it. And I had been thinking oh, we'll take a little time off. And then I was like, you know what? Let's go. Let's just go for it. It'll be good.
See, if you want something, you got to ask for it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, and Ashley, I have to tell you that you may have created, maybe not you, but musical improv may have created a monster, because now I want to sing all the time. And I'm still developing my singing voice, but I sang karaoke for the second time in my life. And this was the first time I wasn't drunk and inebriated. Like, I sang karaoke a few weeks ago at camp, and I was so proud of myself that I did it.
That's so awesome. What's your jam? What do you go to?
Oh, it's a bit out of range, just a touch out of range. This Is Me from the Greatest Showman soundtrack.
Nice. That's out of everyone's range.
Yeah. I also sang it at 2 a.m. too. So like 10 people were up by that point. We had been doing karaoke for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So not too many people heard it, but it did get filmed, which I feel like should be a no-no sometimes with karaoke.
That does feel like a no-no.
It did get filmed, and I have not mustered up the courage to watch it yet. It's better up here. It is better in
Yes.
my mind, but maybe one day I'll watch it and just, I watched a few seconds. I was like, oh, that's my voice. Okay. And I've worked for years. It took me a long time to be able to watch my speeches and presentations. And I could do that now. Like, I've gotten through that, but I have not worked through all the cringiness of watching my improv or singing yet. But I'll get there.
It's hard. I don't enjoy doing it. I should do it more than I do because I think there's a lot of benefit in it, but it is very uncomfortable.
Yeah. You got to take a deep breath and be like, okay, I'm just going to watch it without judgment. Without judgment.
Yeah.
Well, Ashley, I have so many questions for you, and you have such an extensive background. And I'm going to just start with the simplest one, I think, but maybe the most comprehensive. So, you have quite a list of improv experience. Can you tell us all about your improv journey and how and why did you get started in improv?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went to college for musical theater. And so I did a lot of musical theater in high school and then in college. And then I moved to New York and started auditioning. And just right away, it was such a frustrating at times experience because especially before I had my union card, although even after I did, they do like type outs. So basically they like bring 15 people into the room and then they type you out for the role. So like the roles I was coming in for that I wanted to play matched my voice, but not my look. Because I was like very thin and I had like long blonde hair. I was very much like a soprano-y looking person, and I'm not a soprano. And so I kept getting typed out for the things that I wanted to do. And I did a bunch of things. I chopped all my hair off. Like I tried to make the two things work and couldn't quite get there. And during that time, I ended up auditioning for Disney World would do these like big general auditions, like maybe once or twice a year, with the thought being, and it was a great way to get your equity card. And the thought behind it was, oh, I'll probably get cast like they have a Beauty and the Beast musical show. It's like shorter than a musical, but like a Broadway musical, but it's like just doing a musical. I was like, okay, that'll be a good way to get my equity card, and I'll do this musical a million times for a year and then I'll leave. And I ended up getting called back for this improv show, and I'd never really done improv up to that point. And because it was the thing where it was like because it was like general auditions, you do a monologue and you do a couple of songs. And I did a comedic monologue because I'd always loved comedy. And then I ended up getting cast in the improv. It was like a sketch improv hybrid type show. And ended up going down there, getting my equity card, coming back to New York, continuing to audition, and it being like a little better than just like the straight open calls you have to go to when you're non-equity. But the same thing was still happening. So I really wanted to audition for Rent. I really wanted to, and I just kept getting typed out. I got typed out. I think I went 3 or 4 times, and every single time I got typed out. So it was really frustrating. Around that time, I had found UCB. This is before they were a big theater and school and all those things. The 4 people that founded it moved to New York and were doing sketch shows. And I was doing a play in the same space that they were doing a sketch show. And so one night I just stayed behind and because I had no money, and just got in the audience as though I had paid for a ticket and watched the sketch show. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. And then they started doing their AssCat show that they still do to this day. And I started seeing it and I was really into it. That was before I went to Disney. So I knew a lot about what improv was. I just didn't think it was particularly for me. But then while I was down there, I really enjoyed it and felt like I had the facility for it. And so when I got back, I started taking classes. Second City at the time, which is based in Chicago, was teaching classes in New York. I started taking classes there, started meeting people in the comedy world, started doing sketch with a group, then started taking classes at UCB and doing more improv, and just really did a bunch of improv for probably about 10 years. And like in different groups, in different places, you know, I had the few sort of core groups or whatever, and just started getting better and like expanding my improv world. And then I joined a practice group for musical improv, which I knew what it was. I had a friend who was in Baby Wants Candy, which was based in Chicago. And I'd seen them, thought they were great. There was this other group called I Eat Pandas, which was like a duo improv group.
Good.
Yeah, it was great. They were great. It was Eliza Skinner and Glennis at the time, McMurray. She's now McCarthy. And they were great, but I was very intimidated. It was that thing of, okay, it was a couple of things. One was my whole life I had been singing, and that was my thing that people really thought I was great at. And it frustrated me a little bit because I was like, well, I'm really interested in being an actor and like doing other stuff. And I feel like I'm getting counted out a little bit because not counted out, but just sort of like, oh, but you're really a singer. And so I sort of was liking this identity that I had of people didn't know I sang. I just did improv. They just knew me as, oh, she's really funny. She's good at improv. She's good at sketch, whatever. And I didn't really do much singing. And most people didn't really know that I could sing. And so I think one thing was I sort of was enjoying that identity. The other part of it was I was sort of scared that, okay, these are two things that I think I'm pretty good at. What if I start doing them together and I can't do it? That'll feel so weird.
Yeah.
Like I should theoretically be great at this. But what if I try it and I'm just like absolutely the worst and I can't wrap my head around it? So it was I did this practice group for musical improv. And then shortly after that, Baby Wants Candy held auditions in New York because they were going to have a New York presence. And I did those auditions and I got cast and did a lot of musical improv for the next several years that I was still in New York. But what's funny is I primarily did regular improv and then also some musical improv in New York, as opposed to here where I do like almost exclusively musical improv, because that was like my in moving to LA was I could right away get on a musical improv team. But yeah, and it all came out of being frustrated by this typing out process and this thing of there were only certain roles. Like I got called back really early on when I moved to New York. I got called back for the national tour of Carousel, which was a huge deal.
Yeah.
And I got called back for the lead, which is Julie Jordan, which is the like very high soprano, just not my voice type at all. And it was so much about my look and I could manage to fake my way through, but then I didn't get it and nor should I have. But yeah, so it was just this thing where it was like the places that I was generally finding success were not exactly where I wanted to be. Whereas in improv, I got to chart my own course a little bit more and got to play the types of roles I wanted to play. And then once I was doing musical, I got to sing in the styles and the way that I like to sing. And that I think I'm better at. I'm not a soprano singer. I can hit notes, but I don't want to listen to me sing soprano stuff. That's sort of the not in a nutshell version of how I got into it.
No, that's amazing. And thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. You know, it's so interesting. Like, I should be good at it. You've been doing musical theater. So you didn't do a whole lot of improv in musical theater, right? Because it's so practiced and rehearsed, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so they don't really touch what if things go wrong or they don't go wrong because you practice so well?
Yeah, I think in all theater and all performing arts, improv is a thing that you hopefully have in your back pocket in case the cue doesn't happen or someone misses an entrance or whatever, that you don't just stand there and go, there's supposed to be an entrance here. Hopefully you're present enough and in the moment enough to be able to do what we do in life. If you're giving a presentation with a partner and your partner freezes, hopefully you have the presence of mind to be able to, and you're enough in the moment that you can cover that or take over for them or whatever needs to happen. So it exists in that kind of way. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I just had this block in my head of, I don't know, man. I don't know if I can mesh those two. I don't know why. It was such a strange mental block that like, nope, those are two separate things. I couldn't possibly do them at the same time.
Well, when you first started out, it is new, although you have the performance elements. Musical improv, I'm sure is still difficult, right, to learn at first.
Definitely. Yeah. Because normally you're spending all this time learning music. You have the sheet music in your hands. I'm a decent sight reader, not amazing, but like I can know, okay, that's where I'm going. And then suddenly you're becoming on your feet a bit of a songwriter, which was not something that I really saw myself doing. And so it is intimidating. And, now from a totally different vantage point, I'm like, oh yeah, like it feels so impossible and it feels so out of reach at first that it's like a thing that you just can't possibly do. And then once you start doing it, it becomes incrementally easier. So it's not one day just in a flash, you like, oh, I got this. So it just is like little by little, like one day you just nail an amazing chorus and you're like, whoa, I did that. That was great. That was something I didn't think I could do. And then one day you sing a whole song and it's funny and whatever. Like you just make these little inroads until eventually, and it honestly, it always is still a little hard. It's never just a cakewalk. Like it's never like, oh yeah, let me just get up there and see what happens. No, it's like it requires a lot of focus, as you well know. You really have to be so attentive to everything that's happening around you, what's happening inside you, what's coming out of your own mouth. So yeah, it's a very focused and challenging thing. I compare it a lot of times to golf.
Oh,
not that I play golf, but
okay.
my understanding of golf is it's the sport that all athletes, elite athletes especially, are drawn toward because perfect is unattainable. But you can get really close and you can have like moments of it and flashes of it. And so you start chasing that. And that's what I feel about improv and musical improv is it's like you're not exactly aiming for perfect because like how unattainable it is, but you do find ways. There's something about that it's like when you get those moments, those little flashes that are like just so magical even to you inside of it, that it makes you want to keep chasing it.
Yeah, I love that analogy. I've dabbled in golf, I've taken lessons, and it is so hard. Oh my God.
Yeah. And that's the thing. That's my understanding too, is that it's even for elite athletes, it's like who like they have the physical strength to like, what is the first hit?
Drive. Yeah.
To drive the ball really well, really
yeah.
far. Yeah, to do that initial whack, as they say in golf. But it's like the finessing and it's all these different skills. So it's, yeah, just because you're good at the initial drive, your struggle might be in the putting or it might be in that
chipping,
getting it,
wedging.
getting it closer to the green or whatever. And those, it feels very comparable in that way to me. There are skills and you can get better at them and you know what it feels like when you really nail it. You definitely get that feeling.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that analogy because I have to tell you with golf and even an improv too, it sometimes feels so overwhelming. And I'm at like 3.5 years of my improv journey. And some of it was online. So it still counts.
Yeah.
Time wise, the time still counts. There's some drawbacks to online and then some pros. So it's fine. It all counts. But sometimes you get so overwhelmed of I'm not getting better or you're not seeing those glimpses right away.
Right.
And you're like, I should be good at it. I'm a human person. Like I used to play as a kid, whatever. I should be good at it. And everyone else seems really good at it, but I'm not seeming to get it. I keep getting the same notes over and over. But you're right, those little glimpses, and you have to look out for them. You have to be willing to see them too.
It's true. And sometimes it's like you really even have to break them down to really small things of, wow, that went in a totally different way than I expected. And it was joyful, not scary or whatever. Or like the scariness was joyous. Because there's that sort of scared freeze up thing that's like super unhelpful. And then there's that thing where you're just like, I'm totally scared, but I'm just going. And this is kind of cool, even though I'm really freaking out. That's the feeling. And I feel like the best improv happens when you're not secure, when you feel a little bit off balance because you're not being able to judge and shut things down or put obstacles in your own way, basically. You're able to get out of your own way because all you're doing is keeping up. And when you're able to do that and you've worked on your skills and you have those skills under you, they really elevate you in ways that sometimes if you're just so like, nope, I know what's happening next. And then I'm going to do, and you're doing that, you can't quite get that thing. And I think there's a way for those two to coexist, but you have to first let yourself be in that little bit of off balance place and surprise yourself.
And that's what I loved about your class. The first class we had in level 1, you're like, hey, we're just going to take the training wheels off first and jump right in the deep end and get you all singing. I mean, it's a 6-week class. Like, we have to get up and sing.
Yeah.
And you're like, hey, we're going to sing. And you made it easy. We started with choruses and slight rhymes a little bit. And even that was surprising to us at first. And that first class was like, okay, we did it. That was cool. It was hard, but it was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is like just getting those wins. And what I realized early on in teaching is that the longer you delay everybody singing, the more intimidating it becomes for them to sing.
Yeah.
To the point where it almost becomes insurmountable. You've got to get people just like, yep, we're all doing this and it's going to be great and it's going to be so fun. So just let it go. Don't worry about when it's happening. It's happening now. So it's great.
Well, okay. And I have the existential talent versus effort question for you. I don't have any singing training, so I've always thought of myself as not a singer. And now I'm getting into this world of musical improv, and I see people who are trained in it. We had some people in our classes who were, you could tell they had done it before and they had some training. But do you think that everyone can be a good singer with training, or does talent win out?
I do, because I think there's a lot of different elements to being a good singer or to be even considering yourself a singer. I think the biggest thing is you can't be afraid of music. That's the thing I always tell people is you don't have to feel like you're a singer to take musical improv and really be able to get something out of it. You just can't be afraid of music. If you're like, and you're constantly talking yourself out of singing and speak singing instead of singing, that makes it way harder. There's some cases where I guess people are tone deaf or something, like they can't like match pitch. I think that's more rare than people think it is. Like I knew someone growing up who genuinely was tone deaf. Like you would play a note on the piano and they could not match it. Like they just didn't hear it. They weren't able to take what they heard or they didn't hear it and transfer it to what was coming out of their mouth. So I think that's like a technically tone deaf thing. And in that case, I don't know, like maybe there is nothing you can do there. I don't know.
Maybe golf will be their sport instead.
Yeah, just sing and golf. But the other thing of that is, the thing I think about with that is ear training is a real thing. And we talked about that in class, the idea of like really listening to each other to find harmonies and stuff. And being able to pick out where harmonies are. And that's a thing that like, no matter how great out of the womb singer you are, almost everyone, there's occasionally people who have perfect pitch and that sort of thing. Again, like opposite end of the tone deaf spectrum, I guess. But most everyone has to work on their ear training. I remember when I was growing up, my mom was a singer and she's really good at harmony, like really good. She's just can find it right away, like lock in on it right away. And as a kid, 9-year-old kid, I was okay at it, but I wasn't as good as her. And she just could not understand it. She's like, how do you not hear that? I'm like, I don't know. I don't though. But over time, I worked on it and got better and trained my ear. So like those things can all improve through working on it. So I do think anyone can, who's like, all the caveats in play of not completely tone deaf, not afraid of music, has some sense of rhythm. Rhythm, again, something that's for some people incredibly hard. For other people is just like super intuitive. I think most of us are right in the middle. And that's one you can work on too. It's like figuring out rhythm, learning rhythm. All those pieces together, working on them, training, I do think you can become a better singer than you just were out of the womb. But even looking at people like, and no shade because I love him, but like Bob Dylan doesn't have the most beautiful voice. It's not like you know what I mean? But he's one of the greatest singer,
Yeah.
not the greatest singer-songwriter of all time. And what he has is a style, and his personality and what he believes and what he thinks and feels is in his music. And I think that ends up becoming as important, because I've also heard people who are technically very great singers, like they have the technical skills, but I'm not particularly interested in hearing them sing because I don't necessarily feel like they're putting themselves, it's all technique and there's no like humanity or emotion or whatever in it. That's probably more rare, but that is a thing. I've definitely experienced that in my life.
Yeah, I remember talking with you at a break. People were asking one time in class, do you have to be a better singer or improviser for musical improv? And you were like, improviser. Like the musical will come, certainly, like you have to train in it. But if you're not willing to be vulnerable and give into the improv and you're just a good singer, it's not going to translate as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, generally speaking, I always say musical improv shows are pretty great because at least there's always music. Like, no matter how off the rails or whatever bad it might be,
That's so true.
at least there's a little bit of music. But the thing is, if I had to pick between someone who is an amazing singer and a mediocre improviser versus someone who is a mediocre singer and amazing improviser, I would always pick the amazing improviser to do musical improv with. Always. Not even close, honestly. And that's the thing. I think sometimes people who start getting into musical improv, they put all their eggs in that basket and really just focus on the musical improv. And I'm like, keep working on your improv. For one, you're going to see incredible growth in your non-musical improv just from doing musical improv, because it just makes you take more risks, make bigger choices. It forces you into doing things that in regular improv, it's a little harder to like get out of people. But also getting better at just the improv, not having to think about the music, is going to make your musical improv 1,000% better too. So that's always the advice I give people when they're like, how do I get better? I'm like, take more improv.
I will say, going to regular improv scenes after doing a few musical improv classes, I'm like, oh, this is easy. Or not easy, but I don't have to sing and think about when the song's going to start and like background dancing and so, like, oh, yeah, there's not as much to think about. And there's
Right.
hundreds to think about in a regular improv scene. And then musical improv, there's 200 things to think about.
It's true. And I think too, it's like you expand your ability to focus in musical improv.
Yeah.
And then if you can bring that level of focus of like, wow, I'm spinning 200 plates to just spinning 100 plates, suddenly you're giving all this more energy than maybe you were before, because you realized, oh, there was more. I had more that I could do. And then you can put that back into your regular improv. And I feel like it just sort of, sets you on a great trajectory.
Well, and I can relate to the 200 plates spinning because I remember in our first class, and even we had a practice with our team. We don't have a name yet for our musical team, but we're working on it.
Exciting.
And that stemmed from the level 1 class, which is great. But in practice, and then the first class, like I was doing some space work as someone else was singing, and I realized I did not hear a single thing they just sang. And it's like, okay, there's so much going on at that point. You, one, have to move around and not just do your own space work. You need to look around to see what others are doing to make it more kind of musically dancing. And then you have to listen to what they're saying. You don't want to say the same thing, or if you're going to start a chorus with it, like there's so much to do when you're not even singing is the key.
Yeah, it's true. I think any skill like that, when you see people do it and sometimes it looks really easy, or it looks, oh, that just seems like they're just having a lot of fun. And then you start learning it and you start breaking it down and you're like, oh my God. And then when you look back, like after you've been doing it for a bit and you're like, wow, I was so overwhelmed by just this. And now look at what I can do. Like how much you can grow and how much more capacity we have for things. I was watching an orchestra or something that I went to the Bernadette Peters concert a couple weeks ago or a
Oh,
week ago.
nice.
It was amazing. And I'm looking at the orchestra and just thinking about like collectively the amount of time it took all those people in that orchestra to learn their instrument, to get to the level of mastery that they're at, and then to come together and play this music and connect with each other. And the timing has to be is so precise in music. And like all these things that seem, if you break them down into just every little piece of it, seems like how could that possibly ever happen? It's like, oh, we can do hard things. We can do hard things.
That's so true. It's probably hundreds, I'll even say thousands, 1,000 years combined experience in that orchestra.
Potentially, because I think it was like maybe 12 or 14 pieces.
Yeah.
And it was
Maybe
yeah.
hundreds. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
maybe
yeah,
hundreds.
we can exaggerate to 1,000, but still, I
Sure.
mean, this is inspiring for me to hear because a lot of things seem insurmountable at first, especially when you start in like a level 1 or a level 2 class and even like you finish level 2 and you're like, yeah, we did it. And then you go, I don't know, like you taught us narrative improv for one class and it was like, oh, there's so much more to learn. Like we have so much farther to go. It's the Dunning-Kruger effect a little bit. Like you learn something and then you're like, cool, I think I got it. And then you see, nope, I don't have it. And that's okay though, because there's more learning and growth to be had.
It's so true. It becomes easier even while it's being harder. You know what I mean? Like the things that were
Yeah.
so hard before start to become easier as you're like struggling through these new skills. Like you're like, oh, this is such a slog. Hey, I didn't even take credit for the fact that I like had this really amazing chorus and started a great dance thing and had this really funny character bit. Like I didn't even take credit for that because I'm so focused on like how much I struggled with this other thing, with this like piece
Mhm.
of narrative business or whatever.
Negativity bias for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So you're primarily teaching now at this point, right? Like you're primarily an instructor. So what do you like about teaching improv? Both I'll ask in the corporate settings and for improvisers too.
Yeah. I think in the corporate settings, because it's much more what you would think of as like level 1 type stuff, where it's really about listening and communicating and
You don't do musical improv for the corporate
no,
settings,
although
right?
I would love to, but I don't, that would be such a hard sell, I think.
Yeah.
But even when we're doing like teaching about creativity and collaboration and using improv as some of the tenets of improv to help with that, it's very rewarding because a lot of times it's things that people in the corporate world have not thought about in a long time. Sometimes
Mm.
people have. Sometimes you'll have people who are like, wow, you're amazing and you should be doing improv because you're really good at all this.
Yeah.
And other times people are just like, I don't ever think about any of these things. And so it's rewarding in the sense of, I feel like this might make this workplace better, stronger, kinder, something. And that's nice to feel like, oh, this isn't just a silly time at the workplace thing. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that it is like actual skills if they buy in. With teaching students who are just interested in improv for the sake of improv, what I really love about that is just like watching people's progress, like seeing where people start from and where they go and seeing them sort of unlock things and open up things that they see that they just held so tight. Like there was a person in your class who, I don't know if you remember, if I didn't say something, they would have saying everything. But after a while, it was like they were unbridled. I don't know what the word would be, but like they were always singing and always starting courses and doing so much more
Yes.
singing. So that was like really, that's very satisfying to watch people come into their own in that way and have those wins and recognize those wins, which sometimes they don't. And so sometimes you have to be on top of it to make sure they know they did it. The hard part is when you see people just like getting really hard on themselves and you're like, oh, I have notes for you, but I also don't want to just beat you into the dirt.
Right. You take that into account. If you can sense that people are being hard on themselves, you might ease up.
That's the thing, is you're just constantly looking for, is this going to be beneficial or is this going to be, and sometimes people are, it's like, oh, they can take all the notes and they are able to internalize them right away. And you can see that they're onboarding it and whatever. But other times you can tell they're just in a place where they're so in their head and they're just feeling bad about everything they're doing. And those are the times when you got to look for, what are their wins? How are they succeeding?
I feel like I've had a lot of growth just in my 3 years, because I would always kind of label scenes as good and bad. And I think this year I've stepped into more of that. Okay, I actually had a good character there, or I had a good moment. Like maybe the scene wasn't perfect, quote unquote, perfect or good, but like I felt better about that. So I'm starting to see the positive in my scenes.
That's great.
But if you have a bad scene or bad class or show, or you just feel like you're in a funk, like you're in a bad funk in improv, how do you keep going, or how do you give encouragement for people to keep going?
Yeah, it's really hard because, I think the first thing you want to do is, if you feel like, let's say you had a bad scene or a bad show even, first thing you want to do is go like, did I learn anything out of it? Do I understand why that didn't go well? And is there anything actionable I can take from it? And if you're like, nope, that just sucked, then let that show go. That's the beauty of improv, is that like you do it the one time and it's you live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's the greatest thing that ever happened that no one else except the people in that room are ever going to see. Or it's the worst thing that ever happened that no one else in that room is going to see. And so if you can take something out of a bad scene, bad show, bad class, whatever it is, if there can be a learning moment from that, that's a huge win. That's almost better than having a great show, because having like an experiential learning moment like that, where it's like, oh, I did this thing, it was not good, but what I realized was I need to do X, Y, or Z or whatever. That's gold. I mean, that you can't put a price on it. That's to me better than having a great show, honestly. That being said, if you can't land on anything that's useful, sitting and wallowing in it and spending a bunch of time on it and really just blah, 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 it's not useful either. And I think the flip side's true as well. Again, live by the sword, die by the sword. If you have the greatest improv triumph of your life, absolutely enjoy it, embrace that moment. Don't carry it around like a badge and suddenly you just solved improv and you're the sheriff of improv town or whatever. It's great. And you should 100% feel great about it and also recognize, and then the next time I got to make it happen. And again, if there's a learning moment to have from it, don't just get caught up in the celebrating how great it felt and how fun it was. Think about, what did I do that made that so great? What was the secret sauce there that I can like maybe do again? And then you can never, in my opinion, you should never think about an improv scene, show, whatever, longer than 24 hours. Like,
Okay.
the dawning of the new day, unless it's a thing where it's like you have an epiphany. Oh, hey, because that's the other thing I think about improv, especially when you're taking classes, is that it can be a real slow burn. So there might be things that you're like, I get it. I think I get it, whatever. And then a week later, you might get that thing you didn't get at all. Or 6 months later, you might get that thing you thought you got before, and now you really got it. But I don't think that comes from dwelling on it and like really deconstructing it and breaking it down. I think it comes from like having a thoughtful moment after the show or scene or whatever, and going like, got anything there? Anything? No? Okay. No worries. It just comes from like being in your head, living your life, and then through time, it all comes together. Dwelling doesn't do it.
Dwelling serves no one.
No.
Well, and I have to ask, because I watch your shows and I'm like, oh my God, you're such a pro, and no notes. We always joke after we see, we're like, we have lots of notes we'll give you at class. So we have no notes. There's no notes to be given. But at this point, do you even feel like you have quote unquote bad shows or performances, or there's things to work on, but you don't dwell on it?
100%,
Okay.
definitely. I think I have I'm maybe at like a 60-40 at this point of like 60 good, 40 bad.
Wow.
Or where there's at least one thing where I'm like, ugh, that was not a great move on my part, or I could have done that better. Maybe it probably depends. Here and there, it fluctuates. It probably never gets below 60-40 at this point, hopefully,
Okay.
thank God.
That's a good scale. Yeah.
I definitely have from almost any show. If you were to say, like, what part did you feel you didn't do as well as you would have liked, I'll almost always have an answer there.
Okay.
Because something will be like, I should have, I wish I would have done this, or I didn't really hear that all the way, or I should have made more space for that. Or even things where I just like, it was a judgment call and I think I chose the wrong side, I just made I should have zigged instead of zagged.
Zopped instead of zipped. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, and that's the thing that goes back to that golf thing again of just, it's always, I mean, there probably are people who I probably don't know them, but who like walk off the improv stage and go like, perfect, no notes, nailed it, 100%.
Yep.
I don't think my personality will ever be that way. For better or worse. Not that I dwell on it for a long time, but I will, like, the drive home, I'll be thinking about like, oh yeah, that was interesting. Or I'll think it through maybe a little bit. Yeah, definitely still have bad shows, bad scenes.
I appreciate you sharing that because that lets everyone know like you are striving for perfection, which is not attainable, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
you're always, it goes back to what you were saying before with the golf thing. And golfers don't shoot the same. I don't watch a ton of golf, but they don't shoot the same. They play the same holes, I think 4 rounds, and they never shoot the same scores. And they're really
Yeah.
good at it. The pros are really good at it.
And that's the thing. That's why I think I find that came to that analogy was realizing, I think it was like maybe in really the heyday of Tiger Woods or something. And it would be like, he won this match and then there was another one and he was like 5th or something. It was like where you're like, what?
Yeah.
Where like, when it's just one person and they're doing this thing and it, you sort of are like, oh, that's interesting that it's just like different day, different whatever. Everything lined up a little different that day.
Yeah. Actually, I feel like people are, maybe we have supervisors listening who haven't tried musical improv. We might be selling them a little bit. I think we're selling it a little bit. But they might still be on the fence. So what would you say for those who are on the fence about trying musical improv?
I would say, I think if you're a person who's feeling stuck in your improv or feeling like you've maybe hit a plateau, it's a great way to break that up a little bit, to challenge yourself in a totally different way. If you're someone who's having a hard time, like where you feel like, man, I'm just not getting this or I'm feeling lost, it's a great way to break out of that too by shaking it up. And if you're somebody who is feeling really good about what you're doing and maybe feeling pretty comfortable and confident, the best thing you can do in that situation is expand your comfort zone. Step outside of it and expand it by doing something brand new and adding to your repertoire. It's also just a lot of fun. So if you're not having fun, which I think can happen sometimes when you're in the thick of learning improv or working on improv, you can hit those sort of ruts. You're just going to have a blast. If you get nothing else out of it, it's going to be a little class full of good times and fun.
I think it kind of opened up this world of, musical improv that I've always wanted to have secretly. Like I played sports as a kid, so I never did any performance or anything on stage. It always intimidated me. It scared me. There's always that, oh, they look like they're having fun. And I love musicals. I have a whole like sing your heart out playlist for long road trips when I'm by myself. Aww. And it just allowed me to have that space. So it's, like I said, it's created a monster a bit.
I love it. And it is like a team camaraderie feel. You are up there with other people building something together in a way. And yeah, just the music part of it connects the group in such a strong way that I think you don't always feel in non-musical improv.
Oh, I love it. Well, I mean, it sounds like everyone can benefit from musical improv. So
Yes.
if you have some form of improv training and you have not tried musical improv, what are you waiting for? Give it a
Yeah.
try. Well, and Ashley, I want to take a quick break. However, I have one more question though, because your bio said you are a Jeopardy champion, and I need to know more about that before we go on the break.
Yeah, so it was many years ago. It was in 2001, I think is when I filmed it, or 2002. I can't remember, but it's a long time ago. And so I was on and I won my first game, and then I got second place my second game.
But you won your first game. That's
I did.
amazing.
I won my first game. It was very exciting, very scary. Maybe the most scared I've ever been.
Are you a trivia nerd, or are you just really good at trivia? I should phrase it differently.
I'm pretty good at trivia. I have a really good memory, and I think I have a lot of, I don't know, I have interest in a lot of things. So I have a little bit of knowledge about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And then having a good memory makes you good at trivia generally.
Amazing. How much did you prep for that?
Well, it was funny. This is like before they doubled all the money, and it was a little bit of a different thing. Now you can take the test online. Back then, you would have to go somewhere to take the test in person. And so I think I took the test sometime in December, like maybe like mid-December or something. And they contacted me in early January wanting me to come to LA. Like I think I had like 2 weeks from the time that I knew I was on until I was coming. It might have been a month, but it wasn't very long. And the only things I really did was like, I learned the presidents and vice presidents in order because I thought that might be like contextually useful. I think on my day, it absolutely was not. I already knew all the state capitals, but just made sure I knew that. And then I was working on world capitals, but I did not learn them all. Geography is my weakest area. So yeah, I just did what I could.
Are you pretty good at history? I feel like it's a lot of history stuff. Sometimes
I'm okay at it. Yeah, I'm okay. I would say like literature, film, music, those things I'm a little better at. And history is probably in there. Science, geography, not as good in those areas.
Was there a category that like surprised you? Like, oh, I got those. Or it surprised you like, oh no.
There was a category that was hats. And it was just like pictures of hats, and you had to identify the hat. And I did not know anything about hats. I think I got one. I got one hat.
It was like a beret or something. Or...
It was like a derby or a bowler or something. I don't know. But it was like there was like the Robin Hood hat. I was like, all I would say for that is a Robin Hood hat. And to this day, I don't know. I don't remember what that is.
I didn't know there was a name for it. Wow.
Apparently, there's a name for all the hats in the world. Yeah. There was also a category that was like the Knights Templar, which at the time I was like, don't even think I've ever heard of that. And then later was like, I think those like Da Vinci Code movies came after that. And then I was like, oh, okay, Knights Templar.
Wow. I love that you like brushed up on the capitals and everything, and you get hats as a category.
No, just hats. Hats. Enjoy these hats.
Daily double in the hats category.
You're killing me, Alex.
That is such a cool story. That's so fun.
It was fun. It was a blast. It was very nerve-wracking, but it was very fun.
I bet. What an amazing experience. And you should put that on every bio, too. Even if it doesn't relate, it's like, Jeopardy champion? What?
I do sneak it in here and there. It's on my resume. It's a good conversation starter,
For sure. I love it. It's a good pre-break starter, too. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. I want to talk more about public speaking and stage performance.
Yay.
All right. And we're back talking with Ashley Ward, former Jeopardy champion and singer extraordinaire, improviser extraordinaire. And Ashley, I love watching you on stage. You're such a great performer. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about how do you handle nerves on stage? You've been doing this a while. Do you remember getting nervous when you first started out?
Oh my gosh, definitely. And I still get nervous doing certain things. And I really struggle when I get nervous. It's a real tough thing. Like, I don't have amazing strategies for it. Like, the one that I always try to do is just breathe and like positive affirmations, like, you've got this. This is going to be great. You're going to have fun. Trying to sort of like talk myself up a little bit. But yeah, like just breathing, reminding myself that nerves are just energy and how I direct the energy is up to me, and drinking water, just all the things, I guess, that are fairly standard. But yeah, nerves are tough. They're really hard because I don't get nervous as much with musical improv anymore. Here or there, I will. But like a lot of times with scripted stuff, I'll get really nervous. Yeah, just different things. Like so many times it's that thing of like, just reminding yourself, you just do what you know how to do. Don't worry about anything else. If there's whatever stakes there might be or whatever, because that's what really always gets me going in my nerves is, this is an audition or this is whatever. This is important for this reason or whatever. And just do what you know how to do and don't worry about that other stuff because that has nothing to do with you really. Easier said than done, of course.
Totally. I find with public speaking, I've conquered most of the nerves. And then sometimes they show up though, and I'm always surprised. And I'll be like, why is this here? What is this about? And possibly it's the stakes if it's in a different situation. But I always find once I like get on stage, the nerves go away and I'm like in my element again. But I have found with musical improv or even like improv on stage when we have our class shows and stuff, there are more nerves because the stakes are higher. People are watching us.
Right. It's not just being in class. Yeah. Now it's like, I've got to put on a show.
Yeah. And I do feel like I tend to freeze a bit. Maybe not like actually physically freeze, but like I might not take as many risks or I'm more hesitant. So I think that's where the nerves come in and affect me in improv.
Yeah, I think sometimes what I've done in that situation is like force myself to go out early or like really just break the seal. Don't let myself sit back and stew in it and just like, all right, we're doing this. Like just take the leap as quickly as I can so I can get past that part of it at least of like the anticipation of doing it.
And you mentioned nervous energy too, which can sometimes, it showed up a bunch in our classes. People, when they would sing, they would move side to side or even like slink back and they wouldn't even notice it. It was just the nervous energy. And what you always instructed us to do in class is just stand firm and plant and sing. And I really liked that from a public speaking stance too, because it is so powerful and impactful when you just stand there and speak and deliver or sing and deliver. There's a power to it. And I didn't quite recognize that until class.
Oh, good. Yeah, I agree. And I think too, it really is about when you're planted there, you're focusing your energy. Your energy is in one, you're not giving it an outlet of in your legs moving around or whatever it is. You're having to stand in it and purpose it to your needs as opposed to just like moving about. And like you said, if you want to say, you know what, I want to make a point and I want to step over here to make that point, that's different. That's like very intentional, directed, purposeful movement as opposed to sort of just like my feet are moving. I don't know what's happening. I'm just mushing around.
Or you don't even realize. A lot of people just don't have that body where like we're so nervous and in our heads, you just don't even realize what your body is doing while you're trying to sing or speak.
Connecting to your body is so important and really remembering like you're not just from here up. There's this whole other thing that can have a mind of its own for sure. I notice weird things in myself of sometimes I'll hold my hands in little fists by my side and I'm like, what am I like ready? I'm like about to get in a brawl or something. I'll see a photo later. Or I'll see like and I'm like, did not know I was doing that. But I think it's a nerve thing of just like, tense up my hands.
Something's got to be tense. It's going to be my
that'll
hands.
fix it all if I just tense my hands up a little bit.
I think my go-to move in musical improv class was just like, I feel like I was pretty good at standing and planting, not 100%, but like I could do it. I think it was
Yeah.
the public speaking foundation I had. But then I would throw my arm out as like I'm singing. This is a big thing. And I found myself doing that in almost every song. And I guess that's just what I needed to get started. I don't know.
The good thing about that move is it probably most of the time works. Like in terms of like connects to what you're doing in some way because it feels very musical theater presentational. So it
Yeah,
works.
maybe that's what I think. It's like musical theater, throw your arm out, very dramatic. I don't know.
Yeah.
Certainly, I don't need to do it every time, but I was like, okay, this is my move. Like, I keep doing this, apparently. I don't know.
Well, and that's good to just like even have an awareness because then it's okay. So now I can do it, but I just need to choose to do it and not just
Right.
randomly do it.
And yeah, I think that awareness piece is huge too, because I remember in class sometimes like you would get up and go hold people's feet. Like, just plant. And sometimes you just need that. You need people to tell you what you're doing.
And that's the thing, especially when you're thinking about 10,000 other things and your nerves and you've got all this energy and you don't exactly know where to put it. But so many times I think we saw in class when people would do that, suddenly what they were singing was more interesting and they were more invested and more like totally there as opposed to this like movement was just sort of like, what is going on? It was representative of what was going on inside too, of just being like all over the place.
Yeah, I took a lot of lessons learned from musical improv to public speaking too. And I actually recorded a solo episode about it where I talk specifically about that. And the first one is stand and plant, be strong and just plant. And then the second one was like vocal warm-ups and really projecting and using your voice. And we did vocal warm-ups in every class. And I really enjoyed that. And I could tell there was one class I came late and I did not warm up. And it was like, oh no, that did not sound great. That was hard. How important are vocal warm-ups for singers and performers in general?
Very important because for one, hopefully it's reminding you about diaphragmatic breathing and having supporting breath from your diaphragm. And also getting you a little bit in your body. Sometimes I would stop our warm-ups to be like, okay, everybody, let's make sure our feet are shoulder width apart. Let's like have our hands loose by our sides, not in little fists.
No clenched fist or butt cheeks or anything.
Yeah, just like getting you in your body and like trying to connect those things, like your mind and your body. And then just also for the technical reason of if you're going to be you don't know exactly what you're going to be singing. And so getting your vocal cords warmed up so that you don't injure yourself or do something totally out there. I think it's great if you're going to a show or whatever to just sing in the car on your way, hum, because you don't always have time to do a group warm up. I always prioritize it in classes because I think it's a good way to break the ice a little. We know this is our pattern. This is what we do. We're getting in the headspace. We're leaving other stuff behind and focusing on this technical thing. But yeah, like humming, gentle singing, all those little things really help get you to that spot. I've definitely done things where I've been a part of professional productions and things where people are like, we don't do a group warm up. That is your responsibility. And I've been in other ones where you always do a group warm up. So it's that thing of like, just making sure you take care of yourself. But there's also this thing, I've never used it, but I hear a lot of people talk about it and they really like it. It's this technique where you hum with a straw in your mouth. I've never tried it, but it's something about humming and it's something about connecting the breath and like really like gently warming up your voice and stuff. And you need that for speaking too, because it's, as you know, I'm sure it's exhausting to talk for an extended period of time. And if you are not really breathing and supporting your voice, you're going to get hoarse really quick. And then that puts you out of commission and then you're in trouble.
Is that what you mean by like injuring your voice? Because I hear that phrase get used a lot. And I guess sometimes I'm like, well, how do you know if it's injured? If you're hoarse, if your throat hurts, right? It's injured.
If your throat hurts and if you have a lot of breathiness or hoarseness, you definitely need to take it very easy. All the things of like drinking warm tea, gargling with warm salt water, those are all like really helpful if you're sick or a little bit under the weather or whatever, and you need to just like gently prep you need more prep in those cases. But yeah, just being really gentle. Your vocal cords are pretty fragile. They're both strong and fragile. And sometimes it's useful to even just look at the physiology of your throat and your vocal cords. And you can find that stuff online. They're these really, they look like bands almost. And when they're slack, they're just like this. And then when they're taut, they're like, when they're working, they're banging against each other in this interesting way. And what can happen is you literally can get a blister or a node on your vocal cords. And so then they don't close all the way. And that's when you get that breathy, raspy thing, is when they have this damage because air is coming through when that's not directed in speech. It's like extra air is coming through. Anyway, I think it's always worthwhile to look that sort of stuff up I'm not an expert by any means, but just to understand what's happening in there, to have a sense of, oh, this is why I need to prepare in these ways, because there is a fragility here.
Yesterday, I had to go to an event. This was for my full-time work. And I was standing at a table and just giving information and flyers about health and wellness. And I talked a good bit, and it was outside, so I had to talk louder. And you know what? Last night I was hoarse. My throat hurt. I was like, I do not want to speak anymore. I'm tired. And I'm like, God, do I even need to warm up for a table event? Like handing out flyers? I mean, apparently so.
I mean, you might. And it's a thing too where like preparing for something like that, just doing a little warm up might make a difference. Having that water handy, drinking some hot tea beforehand and after, taking breaks for little vocal rest breaks and not talking. That's the other thing, is if you're having to do like I know people who played Elphaba in Wicked, the Wicked Witch, the one that sings Defying Gravity, which is a really tough song. It's a really challenging part. And I've known more than one person peripherally who has played that role. And when they do, they literally didn't speak almost the entire day. Like you can find a lot of times interviews with Broadway actors, musical theater actors, and they'll tell you about their day. But that show is so taxing that basically they do an extensive vocal warm up. They drink a ton of water, a ton of hot tea, and really just vocally rest most of the day to be prepared to do their show. And so it is incredibly challenging to use your voice in these extreme ways for extended periods of time. So yeah, it's something good to have an awareness about, because I think sometimes, like you're talking about in your situation, people don't realize, oh, I'm like hurting myself. Even if their voice hurts, they're like, oh, I got a little hoarse. No big deal. I'll go and scream at this concert now. It's like, no, it's cumulative. It can get worse. It can get more damaged and more over time. Overuse can really cause a problem.
I mean, even getting that last night, and then I was like, oh no, we're recording today. Like, I hope I'm not hoarse and stuff. But yeah, I'm like, I do need to take precautions. And, I always kind of reserve that for like, oh, I'm going to be on stage. I need to breathe.
Right.
But we talk a lot in other places. Like you might need to do some little vocal things here and there. What's your pre-performance routine look like? So you've got a musical improv show, Baby Wants Candy, Magic to Do, West Side Comedy Story is performing. How do you warm up for that?
Usually if it's the sort of thing where I'm coming to the theater and then the show is happening, I try to get there about half an hour early. We usually have some kind of vocal warm up. I like to have some caffeine and some water.
Caffeine doesn't make you jittery?
No, I need it. I'm a low energy person. So I'll take I don't drink coffee, but I will drink a Coke or a hot tea.
I find I get jittery, and it can affect my vocal pattern a bit if I drink it too close, or I don't know.
And I think that's a thing you have to know about yourself, of like how things affect you. And so for me, it's like, It's great. I need it. But for other people, yeah, it's like, no, I cannot have caffeine before I do something. And then I like to connect with the other cast members, like just on a personal level, just, hey, how are you? Like talking, we chat about stuff. Almost always we do rhyming, usually a cipher or something like that.
Nice.
We'll do maybe a sound check where we do an opening number or something just to make sure we can hear and piano's not blasting anybody. And then sometimes like show goals, we'll talk about things we want to do in the show. We want to make sure, I want to make sure that I initiate some choreography in some backing scenes, or I want to make sure my wants are strong or whatever. Like we all go around and have that moment. But yeah, it's mostly a group endeavor in terms of my pre-show prep. In the car, a lot of times I'll sing a little bit, or I might think through things, like set some sort of personal goals or things that I've been thinking about.
That's really good. Instead of just being like, I don't know, sometimes I feel like I have a frantic energy and like, I gotta get ready and get there. And I'm not being very intentional about it. And it sounds like you're being very intentional there.
I try to be. And I've sort of run the gamut of things. I've definitely had to show up at the last minute and just get on stage and had no time. And that's not my preferred way to roll. Other people, that they like that, they prefer that, or that's just how it works out for them. But yeah, I think thinking about it, getting yourself in the headspace. What I find for me, if I don't do that, is I just don't think I end up in that performance level energy. My energy's a little just day to day, as opposed to like, it needs to be a little bit bigger when you're on stage and singing and talking.
What about if you're speaking to groups or you're doing a speaking event, it's more of an individual thing? Do you have an individual warm-up you like to do?
Definitely some vocal warm-up stuff. So just like maybe scales, some humming, doing some other like vocally warmy-uppy things that I've done over the years. A lot of tea, a lot of water. The main thing that I've learned about myself, if I'm speaking in front of people and it's a prepared speech or something like that, is just being very prepared. I've tried different ways of being like, you know what, I want this to feel a little looser. So I think I don't want to be so married to what I'm saying. It does not work for me. Other people, I think it does. It does not work for me. Because I think it's like a little bit the problem of having a good memory is that I know how the words are supposed to be. And so if I miss something, I get in my head about like, no, I skipped a sentence, or I get in my head about it. And so it's, oh my gosh, I can't do it.
That's kind of interesting just because you are a great improviser, but then yet you're like, I need to be prepped for this situation too. And it's just all how we handle things. Yeah.
If it was just like extemporaneous speaking or whatever, I mean, I would, if there was a topic I was supposed to know about, I might do some sort of preparation. But otherwise, yeah, if I was just like chatting with people like this, I wouldn't necessarily do a lot of prep. But if I had a speech or something to make, I would be like, I got to like work on this.
I want to share a warm-up you did. It wasn't a singy warm-up, but it was a rhymey warm-up. And I actually do it in the car. You mentioned you do this in the car, but it's a blank without a blank is like a blank without a blank. And the words at the end rhyme. So like a blank without a word is like a blank without a rhyming word kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm trying to think of an example. A chair without a seat is like a foot without a feet.
The feet without the leg is like the chicken without the egg.
An egg without the yolk is like a song without the folk.
The folk without the people is like the church without the steeple.
Yeah.
We did it.
We did it. But I really like that warm-up. I threw that one at you. Cool curveball there.
I love that one. That was one that Zach Reno, I think that's who I learned it from, was Zach Reno, who does Baby Wants Candy. And he and Jess McKenna had a musical improv podcast called Off Book. They have a show on Dropout called Play It By Ear. Yeah, they're wonderful. And I'm pretty sure he taught that to me. And I just really like it because, one, I feel like it's structured the way verses and singing is a little bit. But also, I think you can do it on your own in a nice way. I don't listen to a lot of rap, and so I don't like like I can do it, but it's not my biggest comfort zone. But this is a good way for me to work on rhyming without feeling like I'm just doing rappy stuff and that I'm not that comfortable or great at.
I did it on Monday. I was going to an improv team practice and I did it with my husband. We were driving to class and we did it. And I was like, I actually felt, and this was just regular improv, not musical improv, but I felt mindfully warmed up a bit because sometimes I have trouble recalling words. Like, what is the word I'm trying to say? And I feel like it warms up the brain a bit. So I'm going to try to use that before my speeches too.
Yeah, I think it definitely is I use it for non-musical improv groups that I coach too. And I think it's really great for just warming up your brain. Like you do like maybe a silly warm up and then you want to do something that's like maybe a little more thinky and focusy. And I think it's really good for that.
Yeah. Thanks for teaching us that one. That's a
Of
fun one that
course.
can span beyond musical improv too.
Yes, for sure.
Ashley, this podcast focuses on creative outlets, and our goal is to encourage listeners to try new things. And you are very talented in improv, singing, acting, teaching, and instructing. Do you have any other creative outlets that you like to dabble in?
I do a little bit. During the pandemic, I started learning to play the ukulele, which I've not increased a great deal in my play of it.
That's fun, though.
It's nice because I accompany myself and I like doing that and singing. And that was really fun. And I still do it. I should do it more. For a while, I was really practicing a lot and doing really well. I should probably take like actual lessons. And then I've never been super good at art, like visual art stuff. But my stepmother-in-law is a really good artist. And she started doing these things where she was drawing on these like little cards, doing these little drawings in the morning. And then she started making them into greeting cards. And they're really wonderful. They're gorgeous. And she sells them and stuff. It's a really cool thing. And so I've always been like a doodler. So I started doing like a little bit more like mindful, mindless doodling, like somewhere between the two things. And like drawing nothing really, like I'm not like drawing a person or a dog or anything. It's like circles and lines and just different whatevers as a way. And I like it. It's fun and it's not toward any purpose. I'm not trying to like, okay, guys, now I'm doing this doodle business. Please come and buy my doodles. They're so great.
I'm quitting improv, doing doodling now. Yeah.
Full-time doodler. Yeah, no, it is fun. And I've found it's like sort of zen and calming. And it's nice. I think like a lot of things that I've attempted to do creatively, I feel like I've got to monetize them or I've got to find a way to make them. I have to be so good at them. And the nice thing about this is I don't feel that way. I just do it. And it's just about the doing. And that's it. I don't have to think about it beyond doing it. And if I mess up or it doesn't go well and I don't like the way it turns out, okay, who cares? Like I'm just doing it to do it.
I love that because, yeah, you're doing so many things. Sometimes it's just nice to like not be great at it, but just like give in and like, I'm going to do it. And it's fun and it's enjoyable to just do it and try it.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's wonderful. And last question for you. I asked this on most episodes. This is Improvly Speaking, and we're all about yes and. I know some people are like, oh, I don't like yes and, but improv is about yes and a yes and mindset and a growth mindset. So how do you embody a yes and or growth mindset in your life?
I think I really have a real problem with being overly critical sometimes, particularly of myself. And so what I try and do in terms of, and that can work with yes and, that can also work against yes and. What I try and do is just mostly be open to things and approach things from a yes perspective, and then try and add whatever I can to that, add my own take or perspective to things. I guess it's maybe my approach in life is I try to be more of a yes person. I don't know if I'm as much of a yes and person, but I'd certainly try to like bring the and. That's a little harder than just the yes. But yeah, just try and be like open to experiences, people, things, and not let my own self-criticism or criticism of a situation or person or whatever stop me from engaging and connecting with people.
I love that. Yeah, I have to have that pep talk with myself sometimes. I don't know. Yeah, you just get so in your head and I'm not doing enough. I'm not being productive enough.
Yes.
Whatever it is, just exist and like, just try new things. I don't know. Sometimes I'm like, you're fine. Like it's been a week. You're fine. You're still growing and doing all this stuff and just say yes to stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And not to say don't have healthy boundaries because saying no is a full sentence too. I want to clarify
Absolutely.
that.
Yes. That's a thing. And I definitely struggle with that sometimes too. Is like, yeah, that's not being a negative person to be like, I can't make that work. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Saying yes to the things that you want to experience and you want to, explore and stuff. Even if it feels hard, that's what you say yes to. But also being like, no, I don't want to do that too.
Yeah. I think if I make space for things and try to say yes to things when I can, it weirdly becomes easier to say no when it really matters. You know what I mean? If you're always coming from that no position, it's the yesing becomes harder. If you're always coming from a yes position, eventually I think saying no starts to become easier because you're like, I'm out there. I'm doing it. I'm putting myself
Right.
out there. I'm taking chances. I'm trying stuff. This one isn't for me, and that's okay. It's not for lack of trying.
Like I feel fulfilled in what I'm doing. And yeah, like
Right.
something that has just come up recently for me is I'm not a morning person. I'm not a morning exerciser. And I was very like, no, but like a hard no. I am not a morning exerciser. And that is my own limitation of myself. And the past 2 weeks, and I've been telling everybody this, everyone has heard me say this because I'm so proud of myself, but I've been waking up early and doing like a 20 to 30-minute yoga. And then I meditate after. And I'm like, oh, I can be a morning person. I just chose not to be for a while, for years, many years.
That's awesome. Because I also consider myself not to be a morning person. And weirdly, this past week, a friend organized this boot camp on Monday and Friday. And it wasn't that early. It was like at 9:30. But I
Yeah.
just am like, frankly, not an exercise person much. I like exercise that doesn't specifically feel like I'm doing exercise. That's like anything other than like actual, I am going to exercise now. I just have never been that person. But I did it both days. And it was not my favorite thing that I ever did. But I said yes. And I'm going to keep going. And we'll see how it goes.
Yes, and you'll keep going.
That's right.
Are you very sore after?
A little. What I've been struggling with the last two, and the only two that we've done, is I get like nauseous, like right
Oh.
before the end. And today, my husband wasn't there the first day. And today he was like, yeah, well, maybe you're just pushing yourself too hard, too
Mm.
early. And then when you get to that point, you're like, because I just get really overheated and I start feeling nauseous. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm just going because I feel like I'm not able to do some of the things that they're asking
Right.
us to do. And so I'm like, but I guess maybe I'm going too hard for me.
Yeah.
It's a weird line of like, they're really pushing you, keep going, keep trying. And I'm trying to do that, but maybe I'm starting from a place that's too high. Like I should take it
Yeah.
down a notch and then do that as hard as I can.
Keep saying and yes, and hopefully that goes away. And if not, then yeah, maybe that's something to
I
look.
need to go to the hospital.
Yeah. Ashley, this has been so much fun. I'm getting all like sentimental. This was very enjoyable. It's nice to hear about your experience and your journey. And it's also really inspiring. I
Aw,
mean,
thanks.
I really appreciate you sharing. And I know everyone listening is just enthralled and loves you. And where and how can they find out more about you?
I'm on Twitter, Ashley J. Ward, for however long Twitter exists on
Yeah.
this earth. I'm on Instagram, Ashley Jean Ward, and which I think is also my TikTok handle, which is mostly show plugs and snack reviews because I love
What is
snacks.
that? What's the snack chats, right?
Yeah, I'll try things. I'll try snacks I've never had before, and sometimes people send me stuff. And sometimes I just like will see something at Trader Joe's or somewhere and I'll be like, oh, I'll try that on camera. And then I just talk about what I think of it.
Oh, so you haven't had them before. That's the
Right.
thing. Okay.
Yes. Every now and again, maybe once or twice, it's been a thing where I like had tasted it and then I was like, oh, I want to do a snack chat. And then I did it. But like almost always, it's like I'm like literally opening the package and like tasting it for the first time.
Interesting. That's
It's
fun.
It's very silly.
Yeah, that's fun. And Baby Wants Candy is second Fridays at UCB.
Yeah, Magic to Do is first Friday at UCB. Baby Wants Candy is second Friday at UCB. And West Side Comedy Story is the first Wednesday at West Side Comedy Theater. The Baby Wants Candy and Magic to Do are at 7. West Side Comedy Story is at 8.
Yeah. So you're busy. Your first week of the month is busy.
The first week of the month is really busy. I would love to spread that out more. No, I'd love to add more shows. And as things have been picking back up, I've added more shows and been doing more pickup shows here and there. But it's nice. It's fun. Improv
take
is
care
very
of your
fun.
Voice. Yeah.
Yes.
Take care of your voice in that
pipes.
first week. Yeah.
Yeah, really.
And I'll add that Baby Wants Candy will be performing at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival in August, which I know you're not going to, but Baby Wants Candy group is.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And it's a great time. I've done it several times and we do very well at the Edinburgh Fringe and we have very wonderful fans there and it's a lot of fun.
That's on my goal list of just being able to travel, go international for improv. And that's an attainable dream.
Yeah.
For sure.
It is. It's really fun. The Fringe Festival is incredible. It's like the craziest thing. It's like 3,500 unique productions happening.
Wow.
I mean, it's takes over the whole city of Edinburgh, which is one of my favorite cities in the world. Absolutely beautiful place. So much fun.
Amazing. Oh, anything else to plug?
I got nothing.
Got nothing. Got plenty of shows. Follow Ashley on social media to make sure you know when the shows are coming up or if you're traveling around and stuff. I'm so grateful just to have you so close and I can come watch your shows and learn by watching.
Yeah, which I think definitely happens. And learn what not to do by watching also happens.
No notes. I usually have no notes. Just all applause and praise because it's just so fun. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it is fun. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you so much. Loved it. And I learned so much. So I'm just so appreciative.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Dana.
And thank you for listening to today's fantastic episode. I love hearing about Ashley's journey with improv, and I appreciate her sharing all the ups and downs of her career. And it's really cool to hear that improv filled that void and what she was looking for and allowed her to explore more. So I really appreciate that. And I also appreciate her saying that you don't have to be a fantastic out of the womb singer to be a good musical improviser. I do appreciate that because I am not an out of the womb singer. I don't have a ton of singing talent. I just don't, and I don't have a ton of singing training either. The more training I can get, the better. And I'll add that I didn't feel like I had a very strong voice when I first started public speaking and conquering my fear of public speaking. I always hated my voice. I didn't feel like it was very strong. And I did get training on it. I've worked with a voice coach to loosen my jaw a little bit and work on projecting from the diaphragm. Like I've had some vocal training and I could certainly use more, but I will agree to that where you start isn't where you'll always be. You can always grow. You can always improve. You can always get better. Even for someone like Ashley, who did musical theater for so long, you still have to learn how to do something different, like musical improv, which is all made up on the spot. So it's more like kind of writing music in your head as you go versus performing and practicing in a musical theater number. Both are very hard, and certainly like some skills will translate to musical improv, but she still had to learn how to do that too and get over that fear of failure and get out of all those negative thoughts in our head. And I always appreciate when experienced improvisers say that they still get in their head or they don't like some things in the show. And that honestly, like, perfect is unattainable. And that's so true. And I think that's something that we just have to remember. One, for me as a newbie improviser, but also in life in general. Like, things aren't perfect and it's never going to be perfect. So we can accept that we can keep on working at things and keep growing. I think growth is the most important thing for me. This is a light bulb that is literally switching on right now as I'm talking. But I think growth is the most important factor for me. When I don't see growth happening in what I'm doing, whether it's improv, public speaking, any kind of sports or something, if I don't see any growth, I think that's when I start to either get maybe bored or down on myself or just apathetic towards it, maybe. And I think that's why I can relate to Ashley's saying that she likes to say yes to a lot of experiences, because I think when you say yes to a lot of experiences, you always can see the growth there, because usually those experiences are something new or something different. And there's a lot of growth in that. I think what I'm chasing is growth, which is a weird statement to say, but I think growth is the answer, not perfection. And for so long, I have been focusing on perfection in my scenes and in my speeches and presentations. And I have literally never had a perfect scene, speech, or presentation. But I've always grown from every scene, speech, and presentation I've given. I've always grown every time I've stepped on stage. And I think that's the most important thing. I will be very upset if there's ever a time where I step on stage and don't feel like I can see the growth happening. And I don't want to give you the wrong impression of like growth just being like exponential growth. Like, it's definitely like it goes up and then it goes down and it goes up and it dips and then it'll climb a little bit up and then an even farther dip where I'm like, why am I nervous again? What is this? And then it'll go back up again. Like, I did that really well. So it is a constant up and down roller coaster and mountain slope. It is not an exponential growth graph. But yeah, I want to reframe that. I'm striving for growth, not for perfection. So thanks to this episode for letting me discover that in myself. I also shared that musical improv was a New Year's resolution that I had. And I don't love New Year's resolutions, but it was more of a goal. It was like, okay, for 2023, I want to take musical improv and I want to do a stand-up class. And I'm happy to report that in June, when I'm recording this, that I have done both now. So anything I do for the rest of 2023 is all gravy. It's all extra and it's all bonus. It's all fun. I love that. Now it's like, ooh, what can I do next? Obviously, keep going in both of those things because I like them. And I think they make me a more well-rounded performer and speaker too, but also like, what else is on the list? And there's so much. I think something I'd like to try eventually, maybe it's on the 2024 list, or maybe it happens this year because I'm in bonus land now, is try narrative improv. I do want to do narrative musical improv, which Ashley did one class on it when we were in our 6-week classes in level 2. And it was hard AF. Oh my God. It was so heady and cringy too. It did not feel good. And it was obviously it didn't feel good. It was our first introduction to narrative musical improv. And so it was definitely like, okay, I want to take that. But I'd also like to take regular narrative improv. So maybe there's a focus on some narrative improv for the rest of this year, or if not, in the new year. I think that could be cool. And I always think of narrative improv as being really plotty, but I don't think that's the thing. At least my brief introduction to narrative improv is more like it's still about the relationships and then finding a way to tie everything back together at the end. And that's cool. And for anyone who is listening and not an improviser, but always looking for nuggets of public speaking wisdom and tips, I want to add that you definitely don't have to take a musical improv class to feel strong on stage. And I did record a solo episode where I talk more about my experience in the musical improv classes and the lessons I learned and how I'm applying those to public speaking and my speeches and presentations specifically. So please check that solo episode out. But I will say, you definitely don't have to do musical improv. I know it's not for everyone. I know it's scary. But what is something that is slightly scary to you? What's something that's been in the back of your mind that you've wanted to try, but you keep saying no or no but to yourself? No, I can't do that. I'm not experienced enough. No, I can't sing. I'm not going to do that. No, I don't know anything about this hobby that I want to try. What is it? There's always something. I'll tell you, it's been stand up for a while for me. Not so much that I want to follow that path for the longest and just quit everything and be a stand up comedian, but I've always been intrigued by stand up comedians and how they're able to do it and craft jokes and also deliver them really well. And that is huge. That's a big part of it too that I'm learning. And yeah, there was always some interest there. And I finally gave in and signed up for a class that Solange Castro's teaching. And I met Solange in my musical improv class. So funny how that all works out, right? You never know what can happen until you try it. And I know I say that on other episodes, but it's true. Any creative endeavor, you never know until you try it. But if you say, no, I don't think I can do that, well, then that's going to be the case because you won't try. Now, if it is, I want to be clear on the boundaries thing, it's no, I don't want to, no, I don't have the bandwidth, then that's a boundary. But if it's more of a no, I'm scared of this thing and I'm scared of failing and I'm scared of making mistakes and looking silly and looking like a fool, that's not a boundary. That's a limitation. Think about that, reflect on that, and I would love to hear. Let me know what that thing is that's been in the back of your mind, you've been wanting to try but haven't, and you've just been scared to say, to even voice that you've wanted to do it. What is that thing? Please let me know. You can reach out to me at Dana at Improvly Speaking. That's DAYNA at Improv LY, improvryspeaking.com. I'd love to support you in any way. If it's public speaking, if that thing in the back of your mind has been, I need to be a better speaker, I'm speaking a lot more and I am not comfortable, I want to be more comfortable, voice that. And it doesn't matter if you get help from me or someone else, but voice that first. Voice that intention that, hey, I recognize that I want to become a better speaker and I want help with it. Because that's the first step. And that's how you get started in the journey. You have to admit that you want to do this and say, yes, I want to do this and I'm going to sign up for a class and I'm going to try this. If you're not big on taking classes, that's fine. But how are you going to try the thing that you've been thinking about a while? Let me know if anything else came up. I'd love to hear from you. I'm always open to chatting about anything. You can tell we talked about a lot of different things on this episode. Did not sing, and that's okay. We weren't warmed up to sing. You can also reach out to me on social media. I'm on Instagram at Improvly Speaking. On LinkedIn, I'm at Dana Gowan, and my website is improvryspeaking.com. You can find out all about the workshops, classes, and other offerings that I have. Really appreciate you listening and supporting Improvly Speaking. I want to hear what that thing is that you're going to go out and do, and go out there and just say yes and flex your creative thinking. We'll talk to you next time.